It's a little bit more of who you know, but it's even more of who knows you in that space. And what you need to get out there and tell people who you are and what you do. Persistence, and I knew exactly what I wanted, and I built the right relationships before I got here. So like that same month that I changed station, that I PCS'd and came down to Pensacola, that same month I closed on it, and it was pretty cool, man.
Welcome back to Life Worth Chasing. I'm your host, Chase Maher, and this show is about helping entrepreneurs build their business around their dream lifestyle. So my guest today is an active duty Chief Petty Officer in the United States Navy. He served our beautiful country for almost 14 years. He's stationed in Pensacola, Florida. He's a multifamily real estate investor. He manages both his businesses, Kelly Housing Group and ADPI Capital. He's pursuing his dreams of helping others realize their financial freedom goals. He is Tim Kelly. Tim, welcome to the show, man. How you doing?
Man, I'm doing freaking outstanding, dude. I really appreciate this opportunity. Looking forward to a great conversation. Love what you're doing. So I'm super honored to be on your show, man. Let's have some fun.
I appreciate that. And Tim, I heard about you from somebody that we both mutually know, a friend of mine. I don't know how close you guys are, Omar. Omar and I were in the middle of a deal together, and we were talking about how to structure our partnership on this fourplex flip that we were trying to do. And he mentioned your episode on Bigger Pockets, said he really looked up to you, and Omar's in the military as well. Dude, I listened to it. We have a lot of similarities in mindset and goals, and you are just like on another level with the mindset and personal finance. And that's something I've been on like a major kick lately. So the first question I wanted to ask you is like, dude, when did you sort of figure all this out? Like, were you always this just motivated and goal oriented and like disciplined with your finances, or did you used to be like a wild man?
I mean, a little bit of both. Just the way I'm programmed, kind of more the type of person that will kind of take risks without really knowing all the data and like have everything super calculated. That's just kind of just part of my personality. That's how I'm programmed. I'm more what you would call the right brainer, versus a left brain who's super data driven, and they're a lot of times stuck in analysis paralysis. They need all the facts and figures before they can make a decision. But I'm more like the ready, fire, aim person. I love building relationships, love like talking to people and helping people. And I'm the visionary. I'm also very creative. I'm a musician. And so I guess my personality combined with just my interest in personal finance and building wealth, I think I got from my mom. She was super savvy with money. She was a single mother, raised 3 kids, and she's amazing with money. And so that she kind of instilled that in me. And then actually on one of my deployments, I just read a bunch of books, and I kept reading personal finance books and wealth building books, and I just kept hearing about how real estate investing creates more wealth than any other vehicle, and anybody could do it. You just got to learn. And then I kind of just dove in like super hard, and I got completely consumed by the whole world of real estate investing. And yeah, so man, it's just super motivating. And then I'm at the point now where I could really help people get to the next level. And there's just so much noise out there to sort through. And I love really like creating easy baby steps for people to take, because there's so much freaking noise out there and so many gurus that want you to go through their training and programs. And it's difficult for a lot of people, especially those left brainers who just collect so much data without taking action, right?
Yeah, man. And you talk about the left brain, right brain. And, there was a time where I was like the hardcore right brainer. And then I went through this phase. It stopped about a year ago. I just said enough is enough. But I went through this phase of about 3 years where I couldn't break past a certain income level. And I realized it was because I was just doing way too much analysis paralysis. And I actually read the book, Ready, Fire, Aim. I was like, dude, from this point forward, I'm going to take action, and I'm going to reflect on the data, the KPIs that I created, and I'm not going to guess what they're going to be. And I'm not going to like plan on what they might be. I'm going to reflect on what they have been. And so that's been a huge game changer for me. So let me ask you something. When did you know you wanted to be a real estate investor? Like, what was going on in your life? How old were you? What was happening to where you were saying to yourself, I'm just going to take action and this is what I'm going to be?
Yeah, I mean, it was really that deployment in 2014 when I just, got prepared for this deployment. It was like a long 8 or 9 month deployment on a ship. And I just made sure I had some material and I was able to self educate a little bit. And I just read a handful of books on personal finance and real estate, or even just personal finance and wealth building. And then I just kept reading and coming across how real estate investing just creates more millionaires and billionaires and more financial freedom than any other vehicle out there. And you can control it, and anybody could do it, and you could do it with low capital, and there's all these creative ways you could kind of get involved. And then I just kept educating myself. I kept just researching it. Then I found the bigger pockets community, and all the resources that they have. Then I just read Rich Dad Poor Dad and got heavily involved in that whole Rich Dad series. Read like pretty much all the Rich Dad series books, including all of Ken McElroy's books. The ABC of real estate investing was a game changer. That's why I kind of would trigger me to go straight for the large multifamily and stop wasting my time with the single family stuff. It was just a lot more in line with my goals. And so that was about 4.5 years ago. I'm 34 now. So I was about 30 years old when I learned how to found all this stuff. And then I just started taking action. And I saw a lot of people who were kind of also interested, but they just kept going to seminars and kept, going to conferences and kept reading books, but they weren't doing anything about it. And I'm just like, doesn't make any sense. And then I spent a lot of money on coaching and mentoring, and that really boosted me to the next level. I mean, we could talk all day about how important coaching is, and it was game changer for me. And I just learned to surround yourself with the right people. And while you're learning all the mechanics of real estate, you have to also understand the philosophy behind the mindset of a successful individual, because 80 to 90 or more, even more percent of it is your mindset. What you're telling yourself, who you're surrounding yourself with, what kind of content you're absorbing into your head, and kind of, those internal motives and your why. And so much of it is mindset and self-talk, and how much are you limiting yourself realistically from achieving your goals? Because a lot of times you're the only person that's going to stop you from achieving your goals. So then I learned that. And so I was consuming content on real estate, then I was consuming stuff on mindset and business. And then I started working with coaches, and like everything just completely compounded. My income went up, my net worth went up, my happiness and fulfillment went up, and I have more energy now. And it really, you get the right mindset, man, it will improve every facet of your life. I mean, pretty incredible how a commitment to self-improvement and self-development will change your freaking life like almost immediately and it's baby steps. It's not like you got to take massive action every single day. It's just small baby steps in the right direction, in that right trajectory. Sometimes you got to figure out where that trajectory is, but small baby steps every single day. How could I become a better version of myself and add more value to this world? And it's just amazing how transformational that could be, man.
That's amazing. And I couldn't agree more. Two of my favorite sayings or quotes, if you will, are your business grows to the extent that you do, and what you focus on expands. And the more that I find that I focus on my personal health and well-being, my business grows. And the more that I focus on what I want to do, which is real estate investing, my business grows, my happiness grows. And it's kind of like a recycling effect that they both help each other. So it sounds like it's very similar for you. So you said you were about 30 years old. This is 4.5 years ago. What's been your trajectory in terms of real estate investing since then? Like, what's your experience as an investor? Let's dive into some numbers of what you're involved in, what niche of real estate you're in, just so the listeners can have an idea of what's going on.
Yeah, totally, dude. So, leveraged my VA loan in 2011 to just buy a single family home. And I didn't have any idea of what I was doing in terms of real estate investing. I just wanted to be a homeowner. I'm like, well, I'm going to use a VA loan. And I think this is really cool. You can get into a property 0% down. And then it turned into what was actually, then I ended up adding some value to it. And it appreciated quite a bit in, the 5 or 6 years that I lived in it. And that was in Hampton Roads, the Virginia Beach, Norfolk area, where I used to be stationed for like the last decade before I came here to Pensacola, Florida. And then I flipped that for profit before I came here. And, while I was still in Virginia Beach, and that's when I started really learning about real estate, dove in, started getting coaching and kind of got, more focused on my education. I learned about all the different assets of real estate. So I'm like what I call like horizontal across all the different single family, fix and flip, wholesale, creative financing, like lease option type of stuff, then multifamily. So I learned like just the surface horizontal across all those asset types. And then I did that enough to just choose one. And the one that I chose was multifamily. So then I just put everything else aside. I laser focused and went really vertical on multifamily. And then anytime I read a book, listened to a podcast, went to a conference, networked, talked about with brokers, potential partners, I was the guy who put together multifamily deals. I was the guy who invested in multifamily. That's all I learned about. Then because I was honing in on it and like kind of focused on it, I was able to talk pretty intelligently about it with brokers and all these people, potential partners at networking events and stuff like that. And then I kind of just, about 6 months before I transferred, I got my orders, and then I started building relationships with people here in Pensacola. So the minute I came to Pensacola, actually that month, I closed on a fourplex that I leveraged what's called a 203K FHA loan, where I intended on living in one unit, renting out the other three, also known as house hacking. One of the best strategies that I would always highly recommend for anybody getting into the niche. And we could dive into that all you want. Because that was actually my first actual investment. And then so because I was like all engulfed in multifamily, 6 months later, I bought it a 42 unit apartment complex with a partner. We just kind of partnered with some other guys that had capital, and we were able to close it, man. And we just networked with the right people. And a lot of the capital came from the local RIA. And for those of you who don't know the power of your RIA, if you're not involved in your RIA, your Real Estate Investment Association, most likely in your major metropolitan area, wherever you're at, even if it's a secondary market or tertiary market, there's probably a RIA. Get involved. And because like 90% of the capital for that apartment complex came from our RIA. So then like since that point, all I've been focusing on are multifamily deals and mobile home communities. And now we invest in and syndicate the B and C class apartment complexes and 3, 4, 5-star mobile home communities in the Southeast and Midwest. And we're always looking for partners, and we're always looking for deals. And we're also not only providing that awesome affordable housing that there's a huge demand for and super low supply for across the board, but we're also offering investors incredible returns on what I believe is the best investment vehicle right now today.
Amazing. I definitely want to dive into the house hack and then the transition that you went from 4 to 42. But first, I want to know, and I'm sure the listeners are thinking, okay, so you studied horizontally, flipping, wholesaling, multifamily. I'm sure you studied single family buy and hold, small multi buy and hold. Why did you choose commercial multifamily? Why did you choose the large assets? Just a few minutes ago, you said it met your long-term goals. They were most aligned with it. What does that mean to you?
That means because the whole goal was financial freedom. Like the reason why a lot of people first crack into the real estate investing niche and space and industry, whatever you want to call it. And the more I learned about like what financial freedom really meant, it was the time freedom. It's going to allow me to do the things that I want to do, spend my time with who I want to spend with, give to the people who I want to give to, and not exchange my time for dollars and spend my time building someone else's empire. So that was my why. And the more I learned about real estate, the more solidified my why foundation was. And so it just made more sense to go for the large multifamily instead of buying 100 single family homes, going through 100 different contracts, hiring, a property manager to manage 100 different doors. I'd rather get 100 doors under one roof, close one deal, and it will hedge against any kind of recession or anything that happens with the market, regardless of what happened. For instance, in 2008, apartment communities and the multifamily space didn't get hit nearly as hard as single family, because single family is all the valuation is based on what's happening around it in the market, what sells in the last 6 to 12 months in that neighborhood, the like kind properties. For multifamily, it's all based on operation. It's all based on the income and expenses of the property itself, which you have a lot more control of. So, even if you're 50% occupied, your bills are still getting paid, and there's still going to be a little bit of cash flow if you buy it right and you manage it right, and it's financed properly. But for single family homes, it's just those are locked into what happens to the real estate cycle. And that's another reason why all the reasons, those are some super basic reasons why I just was more apt to the multifamily space. And I just went for it. Most people would say that's crazy that I went from 4 to 42, but it's just, I made a commitment. Large multifamily is what I wanted to do. And I figured out what it took to get to that point, and I just became the version of myself in order to successfully achieve that. And then because I did that one, telling you, for anybody that's listening, that first deal is going to be a game changer, because the second one is that much easier. Then the third one is that much easier. And it's just like a compound effect. And then people know that you're the real deal once you start doing them. And I mean, that's essentially how I was able to, I was fortunate enough to get on the Bigger Pockets podcast, because we leveraged Bigger Pockets to network with other people. Then I syndicated that deal, and it really helped put us on the map. Hopefully that answered your question. I know it was a little long-winded, but yeah, man.
No, that's great, man. No worries, man. I love it. Let's talk about that first deal. I think there might be a lot of people listening. My audience is not just real estate investors, but it's business owners and entrepreneurs that are really looking to structure their business and their personal finances in a way, and that involves real estate investing, in a way so that they can live out a dream lifestyle and not just be stuck in that grind. So they might be thinking, well, I want to do a fourplex house hack. Like, talk to me about that deal, how you found it, how you structured it, and why was it so beneficial to sort of catapult you into that 42 unit deal?
Oh man, like we could talk all day just about that basic financial foundation. I mean, I actually have an ebook that I'm about to release in one of my communities. It's just a financial blueprint and how to establish your financial foundation, because you cannot get into real estate investing unless you have your financial foundation established. And when I talk about financial foundation, I'm talking about the stuff that we should have learned in schools. There is no financial education in our school system or our society. And what teaches you, look, you got to pay attention to your income and your expenses. You should know what an asset and a liability is. Give you which is your net worth. Most people, they hear, what the heck is net worth? Because they don't teach us this stuff in school. They would never teach you how to establish a business or how to grow your wealth, because we're all programmed to be employees. But I mean, the simple things like of the basics of credit, the difference between good debt and bad debt, how to really build your credit and maintain an 800 plus credit score. That's your financial foundation. And if you have all kinds of consumer debt and you're trying to get into real estate so you can get out of a bad financial situation, you're really working against yourself. You need to hone in on your financial foundation first so you can invest in real estate. You have to, highly recommend you have no consumer debt. That's, just credit cards, personal loans. I'm totally good with a low interest car loan. I'm not going to be the type of person that says you can't have a car loan if you want to invest in real estate. That's crazy. Especially if you're going to keep the car for a long time. If you have low interest debt on it, leverage it for as long as you possibly can. It's an asset that depreciates. I would never tell you to put your cash into a vehicle. That's one of the dumbest things you could do. But you have to know your income, know your expenses, know your net worth, have your credit score going up or above 720 to 760, like bound for 850, right? Before and have a 3 to 6 months of capital, of cash in your account, 3 to 6 months of expenses in your account before you could really start. Then on top of that, you stack capital up to invest. And with all the people that tell you no money down or low money down real estate, sure, it's there. By wholesaling, which is a grind, and you could put deals under contract without your own money, of course. But when you start buying and holding your own assets, you're going to need capital. You're going to need capital, as that one asset needs to have its own 3 to 6 months of PITI and of complete total expenses. When that is vacant, then it's covered. You know what I'm saying? So house hacking is amazing because you can leverage low down payment debt, either the VA loan, which most vets have no idea that they could use their VA loan to get into 2, 3, or 4 units, live in one unit, rent out the other 3. And we could talk about that whole piece, the whole active duty passive income platform that I helped build that is thriving right now for any military active duty vets, spouses, reservists. If you're interested in learning how to or getting involved in real estate, you definitely need to check out ADPI, active duty passiveincome.com. And we can talk about that later. But anybody is eligible to get low interest, long-term fixed rate debt on a 4-plex or 3-plex or 2-plex or single family home, that then they could even wrap in rehab costs that you could live in one unit or one bedroom and rent out the other units or bedrooms or space. And you could literally live for free and stack up wealth. And in one deal, you could become a homeowner, a real estate investor, be in a position to stack up massive wealth, and you're a landlord, all in one deal. And you just learn so much. You're able to leverage what either FHA or the VA is giving to you. It's your entitlement, right? And so for people trying to break into it, that's one of the first things I recommend is to house hack, because there's so many great opportunities, man. And the one that I found was I was in Virginia Beach, and what I found the one in Pensacola. The minute I got orders to Pensacola, I started networking with people, leveraging Bigger Pockets and reaching out to people who might know people in the real estate industry. And I made calls, and I found an agent who, while I was still in Virginia Beach, she was looking at multiple deals. I told her exactly what I was looking for. I was looking for a 2, 3, or 4 unit to house hack. I didn't say, hey, I'm looking for a good deal. I was very, very specific with my criteria. And then once I came down here one time, once it was narrowed down to about 8 properties, I walked all 8 properties, put offers on about 6 of them, and that one stuck. It was a 4-plex. It was an amazing deal. I freaking love it. It cash flows very, very well right now. And that's kind of how I made it happen. But it was just from persistence, and I knew exactly what I wanted, and I built the right relationships before I got here. So like that same month that I changed station, that I PCS'd and came down to Pensacola, that same month I closed on it. And it was pretty cool, man. And I just I had to take advantage. And that's as many doors as you can get under one roof using a owner-occupied loan, which is 4 doors. And that's exactly what I was looking for.
Awesome. And for anybody that doesn't know, the FHA 203K loan is a low money, 3.5% down loan that you can actually finance in repairs with that loan. And then I'm not sure if you took advantage or not, but once you raise the rents, eventually, if you have the equity there, you can refinance to a conventional loan. Okay, cool. So Tim, tell me this. You went from 4 to 42 units. I think we can all imagine why, after listening to you talk about how advantageous it is to have multiple units. Tell me this: how do you find your deals? So I'm not sure how many doors you have now or how many buildings you have now, but what's your main source of finding your deals?
It is, at this point, the ADPI Capital is who is the main investment firm where we're identifying properties and we're syndicating deals. And the relationships that we all have with brokers, we have access to so many off-market deals. It's really crazy, and it's not like we have to do a whole lot of work in order to get our deal flow. So that's right now, but I would rather kind of answer like for the people who might be listening, how do you create deal flow and how can they find deals? It is through broker relationships. And backing up a few minutes, when I talked about, I honed in on the multifamily space. Learn the terminology, learn how to analyze a deal in a 5-step process, learn how you get what NOI is, net operating income, learn what the cap rate is, how do you figure out what the cap rate is, learn what a value add deal is, learn the A, B, C, D demographics of how could you tell the difference between an A property and a D property and a B and a C property. What are ways to create value and add value? What are ways to, identify the right opportunities to invest in. So once you kind of just educate yourself, and that's just through books and podcasts and networking, it's not like you need a high level credential in order to learn this information. I did not have any of that. I just took it upon myself to self-educate by reading books and talking to people to learn that. Then you could build relationships with brokers and get to the point where you are proving to them that you are serious, that you know exactly what you're looking for, and that you have the capacity to close. Because those are the types of people that they're going to spend time to, that they are going to feed deals to, and what's called their off-market or pocket listings. if you say, hey, I'm looking for an apartment community, between 5 and 50 units in Norfolk, Virginia, and that's all you say is your criteria, they're probably not going to send you anything, or they're just going to send you deals that don't even meet your criteria. And a lot of times that's what they'll do. So keep in mind, you have to be very specific with your criteria when you're talking to brokers. Brokers aren't the only way. We've kind of actually gone away from working with brokers. Some of those brokers out there are great. Some of them are kind of just actually a buffer in between you and the seller. We'd rather go direct to owner because you could negotiate with them a lot easier, and you could build a rapport with them, and you could figure out what their pain points are a lot easier and make a more creative offer. So we prefer to go direct to owner because especially what we do as active duty passive income, it's just 2 active duty guys and 3 vets that are teaching people how to, achieve financial freedom in real estate who are in the military, who were in the military. And a lot of people like kind of our whole culture and what our community, what we do. So we could go direct to the owner and explain to them who we are, what we do, and what our experience level is. It's a lot easier than kind of trying to convey that through a broker and have the broker then kind of convey it. And then he or she's almost like a buffer for negotiation purposes. And then you're just paying this person who's almost like a roadblock. I'm not saying that's how all brokers are. There's some great brokers out there that we've worked with. I mean, a couple of my last deals were found through brokers because they have access to some great deals that we would never be able to find through their network. That's what they do. They find deals. But we like sending, mailing campaigns out to talk directly to the owners as well.
Cool. So my next question was, how do you fund the deals? You brought up a good point that the best way when you're building deal flow is through relationships and emphasizing your capacity to close. So tell me a little bit about ADPI Capital. I would imagine that's how you fund the deals or a big source of your funding. Tell me a bit about that. And if somebody's listening that's either active duty or reserves or retired, why they would want to work with you.
Yeah. So the funding for the deals, we'll start with that. ADPI Capital is just actually the investment firm where we're acquiring and closing multifamily and mobile home communities that falls under the active duty passive income ecosystem. Like the active duty passive income is one large entity that's mainly education based. We have a curriculum. We have a best-selling book right now that's free called Military House Hacking. You got to get it if you're in the military and you're looking into the house using your VA loan to house hack, which I highly recommend. We have a VA loan mastery course that's free on that website. We have a curriculum that walks you through how to invest in property. Then if you're serious, there's different coaching programs. And I'm one actually of the core 5 founding members that directly work with you if you're serious and you want to get to the next level and learn how to do this and create passive income. So that's it's mostly education, but ADPI Capital falls under active duty passive income, which we're just not only providing the housing, but we're also offering investors, super high returns on their passive capital. So we're blessed to be at the point where we have access to unlimited capital right now through a bunch of different investor databases that know who we are, know what we do, through just a network of guys that we've worked with. And that's how we fund our deals with other people's money. We syndicate with an SEC attorney. We have an SEC attorney that we're working with. And I don't want to get too far into the weeds with the syndication terms, but with syndication, there's certain SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission regulations that you need to abide by if you raise capital and want to create a public offering where you can solicit your deal to anybody. You need what's called a PPM, a private placement memorandum, and that's what the SEC attorney helps us do. So then we can kind of turn it into a public offering and create a private placement in order to do that. So yeah, we syndicate. We use some of our own capital, but we mostly use other people's money and give them amazing double-digit annualized returns on their capital, plus ownership, plus equity ownership. So yeah, we just use other people's money to fund the down payment, and then we leverage commercial debt, usually institutional, through Fannie or Freddie.
Awesome. So let's say a listener is a wholesaler or a real estate agent, or they've house hacked a couple times. They have a little bit of experience, but they want to get started in, a minimum 16 or 32 unit building. And they're listening to you and they're like, wow, Tim made that jump from 4 to 42. How can I replicate that? How can I do that? What would your advice be to them? What's the best way to get started in larger commercial properties?
Hone your focus on it. and put everything else aside, like I mentioned a couple times before. And that's how I did it. A lot of people think that you have to take the route of getting, 10 single families, then a duplex, maybe then another duplex, then maybe a fourplex, and then maybe a fiveplex, and then maybe a 10. But I wasn't patient enough for that. I didn't want to do that. That's why I went kind of straight for the larger stuff. And anybody could do it. It just requires a decision and a commitment and putting everything else aside and just honing your focus on that. And then it's a little bit about what you know. It's a little bit more of who you know, but it's even more of who knows you in that space. And what you need to get out there and tell people who you are and what you do. So then when you're looking for capital to raise, and when you're looking for partners, and when you're going to RIAs and conferences, when people think of who do I know that does apartment deals and is in multifamily, oh yeah, that Tim guy that I met at the conference or the RIA, he does deals. And whenever they get a deal or whenever they run into their brother or a friend of theirs that wants to invest in a deal, be like, hey, I know a guy that offers incredible returns. Here you go. Here's his number. So it's easy for me with my personality to kind of get out there and sell myself. It's a lot harder for the more reserved introverts. A lot of left brainers are introverts, and it's really requires them to break out of their comfort zone. I've seen amazing transformations from a lot of my left brain friends who realized that and broke out of their comfort zone, and now they've raised millions of dollars. It takes a commitment, a why, and letting people know who you are and what you do, and really like understanding and sharpening your 15 to 20 second elevator pitch. That anytime anybody asks you, who are you or what do you do? It's the exact same 15 to 20 second speech every single time. I've said it 100 times before I started going to my RIAs, before I started going to conferences. And then anytime I talk to anybody, it's like so smooth and it comes off so smooth, and your confidence. And like when people are that confident, it's the same thing over and over as repeated. People want to work with you. It's just like a magnet because you just sound like you know what you're talking about. So that's what helped me, is to hone your focus, get out there and talk to people, share with people what you're doing and what you're learning, add value where you can, and be interested in other people and what their goals are. Because it's not about you. It's really, especially when you're learning and offering investors incredible returns, you have to know what their goals are too. It's not about what you can offer them. If you could offer them 10, 20% returns, but they don't want it, they're interested in something else, it's almost like you're wasting your time. Getting to know them and what they're doing and their whole situation is a lot better. And communicating and networking one-on-one from, how to win friends and influence people is to be genuinely interested in other people and learn how to communicate properly.
Yeah, man. One of my mentors told me, be interested, not interesting. And I would take it even further. I would say do both. Just be interested twice as much as you're trying to be interesting. So you talk about this elevator pitch. Like, dude, can I hear it?
Hey, man, my name is Tim. My partners and I invest in and syndicate multifamily deals in the affordable housing and workforce housing spaces. We hone in on apartment communities and mobile home communities in the Southeast and Midwest. We are always looking for capital, and we are always looking for partners, and we're always looking for deals. How could we collaborate? I mean, something like so simple. Don't overthink it. Like, who are you? What do you do? And what could you offer? You know what I mean?
There you go. Boom. Okay, cool. So in the business day to day, how do you spend your time? What is Tim's daily routine in terms of the business?
Dude, this is such a freaking great question because this is so important. One of the things I coach a lot of people on is time management and time blocking, right? If your day is not scheduled ahead of time, if you don't know what you are doing the next day before you wake up that day, then you're already behind. So everything has to be time blocked for me, right? I'm not saying for you, because you might be able to memorize what you're doing at 1, then 1:30, then 2:45, then 3, then 5. For me, every single thing I do is time blocked in the calendar app on my iPhone. So right there in iCal. So day starts at 4 a.m. I'm up. I freaking cold splash of water, brush my teeth, couple cups of black coffee, then I'm mind feeding. I am going through a biblical devotional that my wife and I both do. We are building our relationship with God, and we actually do it together through an app called YouVersion. It's awesome. God is great. So waking up in an attitude of gratitude, number one, and then mind feeding. Whatever you're focusing on, whatever you want to try to learn, however you want to self-improve, that time is blocked out for you first thing in the morning. Then after that, get ready for some kind of workout, some kind of caloric burn, some kind of get your heart rate up. All right. Because if you are not focusing on your health and your wellness, you are literally putting yourself behind the curve, because health is wealth. It will, I mean, I could talk about all the benefits of regular exercise for hours, but I mean, increase concentration, increase energy, increase cognitive function, increase confidence, decrease in freaking heart disease, decrease in chances of cancer. Like, all these things go on and on. You have to take your health seriously. So carve out time block a couple hours throughout the week to get it in and get your caloric burn and go hard in the gym. Then, basically from when I wake up to the 9 a.m., that is the me time, the self-development, the devotionals, my mind feeding, my meditation, my working out. Then from 9 to 5, who am I collaborating with? Who am I talking to? What relationships am I building? Those are like the office hours that you're going to need other people's time. You're going to need to leverage other people, businesses, and other institutions to get things done during the 9 to 5. From 5 to 9, again, this is all time block. Meetings are time block. Your lunch is time block. Your calls are time block. From after that 5 p.m. and on, that should be dedicated, if you're a family person, to your family and maybe some social time. And then if you don't, and if it's just you, mind feed and read and become a better version of yourself for the next day. And a lot of people have struggle with, what I actually have a solution for is called the E to E ratio. Have you ever heard of that?
No, tell me about it.
Dude, it's amazing. So a lot of people are trying to figure out what successful people do, like how much of their free time is really carved out to education versus entertainment, the E to E ratio. And it should be 80-20. 80% of your free time that you have between whenever you have white space throughout the day, 80% of it should be some kind of development, you time, education, networking, transformational stuff, transformational tax to get your business and yourself to the next level. And then 20% of that time should be socializing and aimlessly freaking scrolling through your social media platforms, just Netflix and chilling with your girl or your guy, right? Taking that time because you need it. It can't be 100% go, 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 go. You need to rest. You need to chill. 20% of your free time throughout the day or throughout the week should be for you to just kind of consume and do your hobbies and enjoy your life. Go out, go on a date, do whatever. My thing is live music. I'm super passionate about live music, and that's one of my whys, so I can just travel around the world and play live music and listen to live music. And that's one of my whys for what I'm doing right now, actually, too. So hopefully that answers the question, man. I know you said it was my daily routine, but that's pretty much it, man. It's that important.
No, I super love it. And I love how excited you got about it. The longer we talk, the more just similarities I'm finding, because I am like a time blocking fiend. I use the iCal as well, and it's like every second. So 4 a.m. to 9 a.m. is mind feeding, exercise, self-development, meditation. 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. is business development. 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. is family, social, or more self-development. And you focus on an 80-20 rule of 80% of your free time, per se, is on education and self-dev, and 20% is on entertainment. Because you and I both know, if we wind up our brains all day, we're going to crash, and we want to sort of taper off. So personally, I like spending that last hour before I go to bed. That's my time with my girlfriend, where we do some Netflix and chill, and I can sort of turn my brain off, because I wind it up all day. And if I can't turn it off, if I can't slow it down, I can't sleep. And sleep is very important.
And that is time block. That time, my wife and I have our time together blocked in our calendars, where that is allotted. We won't have our phones with us. We won't be on social media. I won't be doing any kind of business or work unless it's like pre-scheduled, which like a couple times a month I'll have we have a coaching call tonight at 7 p.m., which is normally during our time. but I'm adding value to the active duty passive income community, and she understands that. And sometimes she works late anyway. Block out that time. If it's serious and you really want to get it done, you will make time to block it out. It will remind you. You don't have to remember everything you do because it's already there for you. And the fact that it's in your calendar, it's like, that's the only thing I need to do for 15 minutes is make that phone call, or for 30 minutes, go to that meeting or talk to this client, do that. And the night before, that hour before you fall asleep, you're already mapping out that next day. This is what I'm doing at, 2 p.m. I had this podcast, or 4 p.m. I got this phone call with this investor who wants to invest $1 million. Already have it down and nailed down, and you already know what to expect the next day. There's no surprises. But you got to be flexible. Sometimes you got to shift some things around, which I'm sure you could testify to. But man, if you're serious about your stuff and your goals and you're committed, you're going to time block, man. It's transformational.
Perfect. So before we get into your coaching and what you got going on in the future, I'm dying to ask you, because this is something I'm a total nerd about. And looking on your website, it looks like you're a nerd about it too, which is a good thing. Don't take offense to that. How do you manage your business and personal finances so that you can create that financial freedom that you're really shooting for?
Man, like I said, we touched on it earlier, that financial, like establishing my financial foundation is what I found, that because there's no education in school and our school system, most people are lacking that. No one like really sits them down and says, you have to know what your expenses are. This is how much you should save. This is if you should buy or rent your first apartment or your first house. This is how you really build your credit. These are what forms your credit score. These are the 3 different credit bureaus that kind of take and give you your credit worthiness. So that financial foundation is like absolutely paramount. And then having no consumer debt, on top of your 3 to 6 months of your expenses, your living expenses. And the one thing, if you do not know what your living expenses are, that's cool, but you have to know, especially if you're trying to get into any kind of investing or wrap your head around your personal finances, so you can create some kind of financial freedom. So there's so much free software out there. I personally use personalcapital.com to look at everything. Not only is it budgeting for income and expenses, but it shows you what your net worth is. It calculates your assets and your liabilities for you. You link all your accounts to it. It's free software. You can project goals on there. There's cool tools on there. Get to know what your average living expenses are. No debt, 3 to 6 months of expenses in an emergency fund, period. Once you have that completely done, you're in a really good spot. Then that's when you start stacking up all your capital, since you have no debt and you have enough saved for an emergency. Every other dime goes into your investment account, and you're stacking and you're doing everything you can to increase your income while you're learning about investing and learning about real estate and hiring and talking to the right coaches and networking with the right people. So then once you have enough capital, you can make a nice big play and make it a fruitful return. You're not like saving up $1,000 and saying, hey, I have $1,000. What can I invest it in? That's not going to be a really fruitful return unless you're investing it in yourself for more education or like coaching or mentorship or something, which is what I paid way too much for. But hey, it translated into who I am today. And I'm forever thankful for kind of what my coaches have done. I credit a lot of my success and what I've accomplished with my coaches, man.
I love it, man. I couldn't agree more. First, nail down like your own personal expenses, what your living expenses are. We talk about needs, we talk about wants, we talk about how much we want to save, et cetera. I follow that 40% model where I get my income to a level where I can have my needs, my wants, and everything done, and I can still put away 40%. Another thing that I live by is the 5-to-1 rule. And I kind of make up these income brackets in my mind. And every 5th bracket I hit, my expenses can go up like one level. And it's not a 1-to-1 ratio. And I think that's a big mistake a lot of people make, is as their income grows, their expenses grow on a 1-to-1 ratio. But the whole point is to let the income grow and put it away for savings. But I do feel we should treat ourselves every now and then. So thanks for sharing that, and personalcapital.com. I'll have to check that out. So super knowledgeable guy, obviously savvy with finances and real estate investing. Tell me about your coaching business and sort of what you offer, and if somebody's listening, why they should reach out to you.
Yeah, man. I mean, this is something I'm just super passionate about, and because of how life changing it was for me, when I started working with coaches and like a paid coach who I invested in him, and now I have multiple coaches in multiple facets of my life. It was a game changer for me. So I'm like, look, now I have a good amount of knowledge, and I'm passionate about helping other people, and I want to be able to give back. And there's so many different ways I could have created like a webinar and like reached like 1,000 people and trying to monetize that. But I would rather really get to know somebody one on one and learn what their goals are, what their struggles are, and like solely focus on them and help them get to the next level. And I'm only looking for people who are serious, who know exactly what they want, and who are hungry and who have a why. So, kind of right now, what anybody who's listening, I have a 6-month program that you basically have access to me for 6 months. Whether it's one or a couple calls a week, you have direct text message access to me, direct email access to me for 6 months. And right now, I'm literally cutting my fee in half what I normally charge. And I'm actually going to give. I assume you're going to probably ask me how people can get a hold of me, and I'm going to give your listeners my direct cell phone number. If they want to shoot me a text or give me a call, I will hop on the phone with them. We can talk for like 20, 30 minutes so I can get to know what their situation is. It's like literally a free coaching session that I'm just going to see what they got going on, what their struggles are, get them to the next level. Just when you text me or call me, let me know you heard me on this podcast. And then yeah, so I'll give you my number right now, then I can give it to you again when we wrap up. But it's area code 847-910-9161. Some people think I might be crazy for doing that, but I'm serious. If you're listening, I love what you're doing. And for people who are listening to this, they're usually pretty serious. They're spending their time doing the education on that 80% instead of on the Netflix and aimlessly scrolling through Insta or Facebook. You're taking the time to learn. So shoot me a text, give me a call. I'll help you out. It's like kind of like a free freedom session, coaching session. And if you want to work together, cool. If not, but right now I'm offering a huge deal. And you could also go to my website and a couple of the websites that I'm involved in too.
Awesome, Tim. Well, we will put all that in the show notes so that anybody listening, if you're driving, please don't try to write down his phone number real quick. Wait till you get to a stoplight or home, pull up the show notes. It'll be in there. Tim, tell me about, I love asking this question. So you're 34 or 35 now?
34.
34. So let's just round it to 40. 40 years old. Tim, you and I are having a conversation at one of your 100 or 200 or 300 unit buildings. And I ask you the question, Tim, are you happy with how the last 5 to 6 years went? And you say yes. What would have to happen for you to say yes?
You mean so from now until I turn 40? Because regardless of like where I'm at or what happens, I'll tell you right now, I'm going to be extremely happy and fulfilled and satisfied because I'm doing what I'm doing now. And I've established this kind of routine, and now my mindset is going to go to where what makes me the most happy, which is helping other people with, achieve financial freedom and achieve different levels of success. So, I mean, I'm just going to continue doing what I'm doing. And the more people I help, the more abundance will come back at me. And the more freedom I'll have, on my own, and then the more I can give and the more I could spend my time traveling the world and helping other people and giving, large amounts of money to people who need it and to different organizations that I'm very passionate about. One of them being the USO, the military organization that's in all the airports, and it's got a home away from home for military members. I mean, I always plan to donate the USO and as well as donate to my church. We donate our time and food to our church who help support foster families who are taking in foster children. And so nothing, man. I mean, I'm going to be very, very, very happy when I'm 40 in the next 6 years. Maybe we'll be hanging out, sipping an old fashioned on my yacht or something. Just talk about who else we could help. You know what I mean? And who else we could kind of bring under our wing to just realize that it's not difficult. You don't need to make like 6 figures to be considered financially free or wealthy or successful. It's just have a basic financial education and then start taking small action steps to get to that point and surround yourself with other people who have those same goals. Because if you follow the masses, you're going the wrong way, because the masses are employee mindset, because we were all programmed like that. growing up in school. They teach you how to be an employee and how to go to college and work for somebody else. But the crazy ones who are deviating from that right now, like you and I, we're crazy enough to just kind of deviate from what we were taught and what we were told to do. But we're also the crazy enough to kind of change the world and create freedom that is completely unheard of from that fixed mindset where you go to college and that's when you end your learning journey, and then you're fixed for the rest of your life. And that's the rat race, the 9 to 5 that will completely keep you static and you won't ever grow.
I like the rant, man. I like it because it helps me sort of learn a little bit more about you. And to be honest, man, some of the rants are like the things that I'll get DMs about. And hey, when you or Tim talked about this, that was amazing. And I know that as the person that's ranting, it might not sound like it's really effective, but that's some of the most valuable stuff. You said one thing, Tim. First, actually, I want to honor you because your answer of whatever you're doing, you'll be happy because you're going to be giving over the next 5 to 6 years. I thought that was incredible. I was listening to Tony Robbins on the Founder podcast this morning on a drive to go look at a flip opportunity. And he said the secret to living is giving. And it hit me hard because about a year and a half ago, I have a pretty special skill set of generating real estate agent leads with Facebook ads. I was a real estate agent for a few years. And I was like, man, let's start a course and do one of these webinars and make $1 million and all this stuff. And I was selling a ton of courses. And Tim, what I found was like nobody was taking action on the course. I could look in the back end of the system and people would look at it 3% completion, 10% completion, 15% completion. And I wasn't getting any fulfillment. Money was coming in and it was great, but I wasn't being fulfilled by truly helping people. And so the reason why I started this podcast was I don't want to monetize, at least not yet, not for now. I want to truly like impact people. And I've made more impact on people in the last 4 episodes than I did selling dozens and dozens and dozens of courses. So you saying that, I almost got chills that it doesn't matter what you're doing, you're going to be happy because you're going to be focused on giving. And I think that's something that a lot of people should listen to and really take account of. So thank you for that. Tim, number one actionable tip for somebody that is looking to create more financial freedom, and I want to niche down on real estate. Maybe they're a beginner, maybe they're experienced. What's the number one thing that they should focus on to springboard themselves to financial freedom?
This is really difficult because like there's a number of them, but I guess the one thing I'll say is carve out time every single day to self-develop. Make that decision, carve out whether it's 15 minutes of reading and of learning about something that you're interested in, or 60 minutes of self-education. Okay. And a lot of it, most of it is free through ebooks and podcasts and just talking to people and being interested in other people. Carve out time for you every single day and become a better version of yourself every single day, even if it's like 0.5% better. So then the next day it'll compound, then the next day it'll compound, and then the next day it'll compound, regardless of where you're at, whether it's real estate or not. Make yourself better every single day, man.
Love it, man. So number one tip is every single day, daily, make a habit of self-development. Very cool. Tim, we're going to put all the links, your phone number and everything in the show notes. But if somebody is listening right now, what is the best way to follow you, communicate with you? If it's your cell phone, we can repeat that again. If your Instagram handle, we can place that. I just want to hear you speak it, and then we'll put everything in the show notes.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm very active on Insta, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. So Insta, I put out content almost on a daily basis. I mean, I do quick, like 1-minute videos, just random, like secrets that I've learned over the past couple of years at the Timothy Kelly. LinkedIn at the Timothy Kelly. Facebook is just Tim Kelly. I know there's a bunch of us, but I mean, I'm pretty sure to say either senior managing partner, Kelly Housing Group, or water survival instructor. That's something what I do in the Navy. At the Timothy Kelly, or thetimothykelly.com is my main website that has pretty much all the other links with all the other shenanigans that I've been kind of involved in. And then, don't ever hesitate to just shoot me a text or give me a call. I mean, if you're serious, I will make time to talk to you because I love when people are reaching out to me to just consult and just to get to, and they're serious about getting to the next level. That is a huge honor. So 847 910-9161. Just give me a call, shoot me a text, and let's get to know each other, man. And that's what it's all about. Building relationships is so crucial in life and in business too, and get in the habit of building relationships. If I can make another recommendation.
Tim, awesome. May 1st, 6 years from now, I'm going to hit you up for that old fashioned on your yacht, bro. Thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. I hope you get a ton of fulfillment and prosperity from this. And I'm looking forward to the next time we chat, man. Cheers.
Dude, yeah, let's link it up, man. Let's nail it down. I'd love to come back on.
Thanks for listening to Life Worth Chasing with me, your host, Chase Maher. If you like the show, smash that subscribe button. Leave me a rate and review. You know what? Screenshot the show, share it on Instagram, tag me at I am Chase Maher, and I'll repost it. There's hundreds of thousands of podcasts out there, and you've made the decision to listen to mine, which is so cool. I'll see you on the next show.